Right, now for a little video called Flat Earth Knowledges. And in this one, right, as we've seen, whenever you mention Flat Earth or do any stuff about Flat Earth, right, you get taken back up, the shells come in and then try and take you back to the same old point, right? Like for example, I've done a couple of videos and you basically had some shells coming in and trying to bring it all back to this idea of spinning balls and all this. So if you're against they say if you're against flat earth or something, you've got to be in favour of spinning balls and all this stuff, right? So I think it's time to investigate flat earth knowledges and really lay this the rest once and for all, because it's quite obvious now that the flat earth thing is being led by these tranny shills and that, who are, they're desperate to have the flat earth idea in place in order to lead the sheep, presumably, you know what I mean? So they send the shepherds in to round up the flock and get them onto a groupthink idea, which, you know what I mean, it's like the old groupthink idea was the globe idea, which was given to you in schools and that, brainwashing. And then the new one is the flat earth model. And these are models, like I've said before, they're models. So it's all about models, right? And this word model is very interesting because it ties in with model of government, right? So model of government is a big idea, and that's what we're basically talking about. It's governance. It's a model of governance, see? So these flat earth shells are representative of governance, right? I mean, obviously they're not going to claim that, but that's what they all really see from their Masonic backgrounds and that. They're just swapping over to a new thing. So first of all, I'm going to put the background in a simple terms, right? So you've got the sun, and you've got the moon, and you've got the place what we live on, right? So that's three things. These are the things which are in the sky, and that's so it's it's very basic indeed, you know what I mean? You got the sun, you got the moon. So you've got the sun, right? The sun is clearly not made of a solid substance, right? It's not made of a solid substance. It's made of fire, right? Which is obvious enough to see, sort of thing, right? And fire isn't a solid substance, right? Then you've got the moon, right? And this is where the tricksiness of the air, of the sort of the air, what we're talking about comes into play, because the moon is similar. It is not made of a solid substance, right? Although they have certainly told us it's made of a solid substance. Hence the moon landing hoaxes, right? The idea that men can walk around on it and land a little spaceship on it and then walk around on it, jumping on it and all that, which gives the impression that it's of a solid substance, right? And also to reinforce that, the idea that they can bring back pieces of rock, so it's moon rock, which is again part of the hoaxing, to convince you that this moon is made of a solid substance, right? But if you look at the moon, there's things about the moon, right? For example, all the different colours it turns and the different shapes it changes into and stuff like that. And if you see it in the day, certain times in the day, it becomes translucent, or is it transparent or whatever, but you can see right through it, right? So you can see right through it, so it's obviously not made of solid substance, like rock, for example, see what I mean? Which is what they're trying to lead you to believe by the moon landing hoaxes, etc., right? So we've got these two deities, as they call them, right? These two things in the sky and that, to be very basic about it, right? And then you've got the place where we live, right? So what's the place what we live on, right? They call it Earth and that, right? And obviously the idea of the globe thing was to again convince you that it's a solid substance, right? So why do they want to convince you that it's of a solid substance? Because this reinforces in your mind and substantiates the idea that it's of the world which they have created is real, see? So it's a world of roads and pavements and tarmac and concrete and stone, stuff like that, see? That's the world which they've created, and they want you to just accept that as reality, right? Of course that's not reality, because nature is reality. So nature is soil, trees, plants, water bodies and all that. See what I'm saying? That's nature. That's real reality. And they want to sort of override that with their own imposition, what they created and placed like over the top sort of thing. Like laid that over the top and then said, this is real, see? But of course, it's an illusion. It's an illusion created by, we know who they are, the tea people, right? So they want you to accept that like hard substance, like rock and that, is reality, see? But so it's like, that's the counterbalance of it is that the actual the stone and rock structures and that are fake. Say for example, you take a tree, right? A tree is natural, right? It's got roots in the soil and ground, and that it grows and it dies and stuff like that. See, it grows off flowers and leaves, and it's just like a natural thing. I mean, obviously, right? And then see, you've got a statue, right? Because they love their statues. They put statues all over. So a statue is obviously not real. It's not natural. It's could be made of marble, brass, iron, plastic, whatever. You see what I mean? It's a statue, and it's like created by man-made, right? Or tranny-made, whatever, and they put it there, right? So that obviously is not nature. It's not reality as we would understand it, right? So they wish to supersede nature and reality with their own version. And as I said, this is an illusion. Their version of reality is an illusion, right? So they want you to believe that this world, this place where we live, right, is of a solid nature, a solid, not nature, a solid substance, like what they're telling you about the moon, where it's made of like a hard thing and you can chip bits of rock off it and all that, right? So then we come to the place where we live, right, as they call Earth and all that, right? So in reality there is no evidence that we live on a solid place, right? So if you see what I mean, it's like you've got the sun made of fire, the moon made of like God knows what, light or something like that, right? So therefore this place, is obviously made of something which is unquantifiable in the same way, see? I mean, obviously, you can have ideas about it, like gaseous, liquid, pure spirit, like anything, like stuff like that, right? But the hard evidence type of thing is not there about that we live on anything, see? It's just their version of it that they're giving you. We know who these people are, right? So therefore, when you're talking about this new swap over the flat earth ideas, right, it's the swapping from one system of governance to another, because that's the whole purpose of it. This is what they taught kids in schools, children in schools, about the globe. That's the only place you'd see a globe is in a school, or maybe your family had one in the corner of the room or whatever, which, you know what I mean, been there for years or whatever. Or the other place you'd see it is maybe on the TV and some documentary, some scientist blew up talking about it or whatever. But in real terms, I never knew anyone who went about talking about globes or the shape of the earth. So it doesn't really make any difference to your own life, you know what I mean? It certainly never bothered me about what shape the earth was or whatever. I just went about my own business, and you know what I mean? The only time I ever encountered that was when I watched something, like I seen something on the BBC or something. It means not, right? So this whole idea, this flat earth, is bringing about a new system of governance, right? So they want, again, it's the group think, round up the herd and get them to have a new iconography type of thing in their mind. So everyone's thinking the same thing, and therefore it can lead them along the same path, right? So, right, the little idea that I want to put in here, right, a little suggestion, right, is very simple, and it's, see, you've had a flat earth before, you've had a flat earth model before, right? And if you look at the idea of public schooling and education, right, there seems to be a few discrepancies in the write-ups and that about when schools was introduced and when public education systems was introduced and all that, right? But as you can see from this, like 1700s, is apparently the time when it introduced like public schooling into America, right? So this says you see as a bit. Apparently the one about Britain is a bit different, because they're saying that like schooling was only introduced in 1900s, which I think could be basically a bit of a lie, like, because you've also got the idea that like we're sending children up their chimneys to do chimney sweeping and all this type of stuff, you know what I mean, and sending them to work in mills and all this, which is, not, to me, I could take that with a pinch of salt, like. If they had the education system in America 1700s, it makes sense that round about the same time they had education system, or what they call education system in Britain, round about the same time, right? So anyways, but let's just say you had a flat earth model of governance before. So say you go to about 1750 or something, right? And they had schools, and they had in them schools teachers, right, teaching the children, and had like map on the wall, like this is the shape of the earth, right? Right, children, this is the shape of the earth, it's flat, right? Just to see as a supposition, right? So that's what I'm suggesting, is that basically, right, you've had a flat earth model of governance before, right? You've had one before, and what they've done is, say you can totally change history in, say, 100 years, right? Like as the quotation says, or whatever, 3 generations or whatever, and you can just totally change history, totally rewrite it, right? So, you know what I mean, we're in a period like which is about 300 years on from 1700s, right? So I'm saying that, maybe they've had the flat earth model of governance in this system before, and then they just flipped it over to the round one, see? And the reason you have the square and circle ideas is because the Freemasonry circle and the square and square and the circle, see? So that's what I'm suggesting, is that they've had a flat earth model of governance before, and then just changed over to the round one, or the globe one, and then back again, see? Maybe it's twice, 3 times, or maybe it's just once in a couple of 100 years, whatever. You see what I'm saying? But this would seem like a way to pacify the disgruntled sort of masses or whatever, when they get a little bit cheesed off and start, calling out lies and that, see? This would be a way to pacify them, see what I'm saying? So that's just like the suggestion I'm putting out, is that we've had a flat earth model of governance before, right? And they just erased it from the history, rewrote it, right? And then rewrote in all the, all the blanks and that, see? To see, because obviously the globe thing and that had basically stemmed from the orb, the royal orb and that, with the scepter and orb and that, which the sort of the crown carries and all that, you see what I mean? The monarch carries it, the scepter and orb, with the cross on top, you see what I mean? Which is, says it all, you know what I'm saying? And so that's just a little suggestion I'm putting out. We've had a flat earth before, and then we've swapped out to a globe, and now it's time to basically flip-flop back yet again. So there's nothing new under the sun, see? It's the same thing again and again and again. And once, like I say, once the populations and that get a bit cheesed off, they just, flip it back. A good way to pacify the herd. See what I'm saying? So hopefully this will put the flat earth ideas to bed once and for all, like.